Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV. We're with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. I hope wherever you are in this amazing globe of ours that you've had an interesting and a satisfying and fulfilling week. I know that there's many parts of the world that are in turmoil as we still endure the COVID process, and it's hard to believe, isn't it, that it's only just on about the 12-month mark since the world sort of stopped and sort of first heard about COVID-19 and how it was going to affect our lives. And I know it's been a very trying time for a lot of places around the world, and including here in Australia. We've had our fair share of COVID cases. We've been more fortunate than some other countries and other continents because I suppose we took the process of slamming our borders shut fairly quickly and borders between the states to try and stop transmission. I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong way to handle COVID. All as I'm saying is we are all in this together. It is a worldwide problem. But I just want to pay respects to, if we can for a couple of seconds, to the 500,000 plus people that have died in the USA alone. And it was very moving to watch that on the TV yesterday here in Australia about, the White House recognising the nation's grief. And it made me stop and think that we collectively as a globe have not done that yet. We have not stopped, taken a breath and paid respect to those families that have lost somebody during this COVID crisis, whether it's from COVID or whether it's from other causes. Nobody's had a real chance to grieve, and that's starting to come through now. And it's really been very interesting for me in this last week where, every day my inbox is full from people sort of sharing with me their stories or their journeys and things that are happening to them. Not necessarily are they asking for a reading, but they just feel that they can, pop a little message into my inbox and that gives them comfort. And look, I welcome that. I'm not saying I can manage to get around to each and every one of you and reply personally, but please let me be very clear. You are in my hearts and my thoughts and my prayers. And it's just becoming more and more obvious the magnitude of grief that is out there, that people are struggling with, that they haven't had the opportunity to say goodbye properly, they haven't been able to attend family functions or do the things that are normal in life, that is the glue that keeps our fabric together of a nation or a country or a town or a city, is the people, and the people being able to get about their daily business. So I feel this week's Simply Tarot card of the week is quite apt going into that. It's the Seven of Pentacles. Now, the original meaning, or the first and foremost meaning on this card, is work frustration. Hard work needing to be done either at work or a situation in life. Now, I'm relating this card more to the latter part of the meaning, a situation in life. Now, if you look at all the frustration, all the hard work, the things that we've needed to do in this last 12 months since we've been in this COVID new reality, it has been hard work. There's been a lot of things that we've had to do differently. We've had to quickly sort of reorganise schedules, start to educate children from home, work from home. All of a sudden, the family's been confined to very, and sometimes very limited space quarters where we've really had to all sort of learn to work together and find new routines and new ways of who does what in the household chores and how we manage to conduct our day-to-day lives in a place that's peaceful and tranquil and be able to work or homeschool our children or whatever the case may be. It has been a major adjustment for everybody. I don't think there's a person on the planet that hasn't been affected by COVID in some way. So we've all had to really work through these work frustrations that have been going on. And it makes it sort of, I think it makes us a more resilient society, but in some ways too, it's shown us where the weakest parts of our lives are, that we have to sort of work hard to sort of try and bring those into some sort of balance, to be able to come to terms with things might not ever go back to, quote, normal as we knew it pre-COVID times, but we're finding a new reality. We're finding a way that we can adapt and adjust, that we can fill in the cracks, that we can minimise the frustration in ways. We're finding innovative new ways to deal with day-to-day life. And I think that's the important thing. But I also believe we have to find time to allow ourselves to grieve and to feel the emotion of the loss and the changes. Now, grief isn't always about losing someone. Grief also can be the loss of a job or loss of the cat, the dog, the canary. It can be just the loss of our life in general, in the way that things were were comfortable and were familiar and we knew them, and then all of a sudden we've got this different regime that we've got to try and sift through and work out, that can cause a grief in itself. So grief isn't always losing a person. It's the loss of whatever that was important to us. So I want you to take that forward this week as you go about your day-to-day affairs and look at if somebody's not behaving in the way that you would like them to, or they're not listening, or they seem to be a bit preoccupied, maybe just take an extra special moment and ask them, is there anything that you can do for them? Are they okay? Are they coping? It's up to each and every one of us to reach out to people in our inner circle and our immediate community as best we can in these COVID times to make sure that everybody else is okay. Sometimes just by someone asking you that is the part that takes the pressure out of the pressure cooker for you, that sort of, wow, somebody acknowledged that you're not looking like you're travelling too well. Wasn't it kind that they asked me, thank you, but no thank you, I'm fine. And that's okay, but sometimes that's all it needs, is just to be acknowledged that something doesn't quite look right, or you don't look your usual perky, bubbly self. So having said that, that's your little bit of homework for the week. Let's sort of keep a little bit of an eye on each other a little bit more than what we maybe have done, because we've been so focused on trying to sort our own lives out. And that's okay too. We were allowed to be a bit self-indulgent. But now I think it's the time to start reaching out and having a look around the neighbourhood and make sure the neighbours are okay, and the people you see at the local grocery store or the chemist or the drugstore or whatever it might be, just make sure that you're acknowledging that, you know that they may not be okay. So let's move on to the astrology section of the show. Each week I seem to feel like I have more and more to talk about. It has just been such a very intense time astrologically in this last 12 to 18 months, more than I've ever noticed. And for some of our new viewers who may not know me, I've been in this sort of work for over 40 years, and I've been working with astrology for close on 40 years, and I've never seen such intense, strong planetary configurations that seem to be affecting each and every one of us. And I don't know that that's just more because we're all becoming more in tune and more aware and asking more questions. I really do think the planetary energy is much more intense and much more concentrated than I've ever seen it before. So here we go again with, this week's sort of little bit of a snapshot of what's actually happening around the universe astrologically, which it doesn't matter what star sign you are. I'm talking as a collective. And if it resonates with you, fine. If it doesn't, then throw that piece out, because it may not be your turn to be sort of feeling the effects of that yet. And, some people will have it really intense and other people will have it lukewarm. So it's a general forecast. But what I'm trying to do is show you explain to you where the planets are at the moment in our solar system. And I'm just doing a snapshot or a headline of what I see as the most important things that are jumping out to me here and now, so that I can help guide you through the next 7 days. So we have 4 planets currently sitting in Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is the energy it's all in your head. It's about thought processes, it's about thinking processes, it's about communication, it's about I know, it's about the light bulb moments, it's about the random ideas that seem to come out of nowhere. Wow, isn't that a great idea? Why didn't I think of it before? It's that type of energy. But what we have to be very careful of with the Aquarian energy is not getting too much on our high horse and saying, I know everything. I know because I know. It's great to be confident and it's great to say, yes, I know. But please, let's always be open to the potential of someone else might have something else to add to the conversation or the idea, or they may have a slightly different or a completely different perspective to us. And all ideas are good ideas. We can put them all into the mixing pot together and see what we come out with. So we have Saturn, the planet of discipline, which is like the father figure in astrology that's sort of wielding the big stick and saying you will be disciplined, you will do as you're told, you will learn your lessons, you will make sure that you get it right this time. He's leading the charge, holding hands or conjunct Mercury, which is the planet of communication. Now, when we talk about the planet of communication, we're not just talking about the way we communicate, it's all forms of communication, whether it's a text message, an email, somebody having a face-to-face conversation with you, somebody over the Skype, whatever. It's all forms of communication, whether it's written, verbal, whether we sing it, doesn't really matter, it's communication. Now, Mercury is also holding hands with the planet Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is the planet of opportunity, luck and expansion. So where we see Jupiter in an astrology chart means we have the ability to really expand our ideas or our thought patterns or the situations that we're in right out, almost to make them exaggerated. So here we have to be careful that we don't get too excited about our brilliant ideas and forget to look at the minor details. So that's where it's important in this instance, where you've got Saturn and Mercury before Jupiter. Saturn sort of come in and damped everything down and calmed everything down and said, let's be practical and logical. Mercury comes along and says, great, give me the details. Let's sort of have a chat about this. And then Jupiter comes along and says, like, let's expand it all out. Let's look at the potential, the possibilities that are here in the ways that maybe we can move this forward. And the final planet in Aquarius is Venus. So Venus is the planet of love and affection, but Venus is also what we enjoy doing or what we love to do. So I feel this is really important here because it's sort of showing us that this is the time. If we've got a passion project that we've sort of, put to one side because of COVID or for various other reasons, it's now time to bring it back out, dust it off, and have another look. And maybe looking at it through fresh eyes, maybe you'll see a way that you can start this or move this along or really start to ramp it up now. And for other people, it may just be all of a sudden something comes to mind that you think, wow, that's a great idea. I've always been interested in flower arranging, so maybe now's the time I'll go and do that course. And, you might go and do the course with the idea of let's just go and learn, and that could end up looming and blooming in such ways that it leads you onto a new career path or the potential of a secondary income or even your own business. So there's always some very fortunate ideas that come out of this particular time of the year where we've got so much emphasis in the Aquarian energy. Now, I'm pleased to say that Mercury, the planet of communication, which has been going backwards now for 3 weeks, is sitting in a stationary position at the moment. Mercury's about ready to leap forward and go direct and sort of give us all these great ideas in the next 24 to 48 hours, depending on what part of the universe that you're in, whether you're in the southern hemisphere or the northern hemisphere, and on your time zone. So if we comfortably say 48 hours from now, Mercury will be direct, and we'll start to sort of feel a little bit more optimistic about people have got their listening ears on and communication starting to flow again. We are now in the Pisces time of the year, which is one of my favourite times of the year, in a sense because, not that I'm a Pisces, I'm not, but I look at it as a time where we can all catch our breath. It's like it's the final sign of the zodiac before we start the new astrological year when it moves into Aries. So it's a time that we can all slow down, take a little bit of stock, catch our breath, sort of just let everything sort of just hum along instead of being full charge, raw, let's go. And it's quite often a time when we get some very creative inspirations. It's sometimes a time when you really sort of want to get involved with more music, or you have more music going on in the background, or you want to watch more television or go to the movies or the theatre or the arts, or do something that's of a creative level that you can lose yourself in for an hour or a half an hour or a couple of hours and recharge those emotional and creative batteries. Now, the sun is sort of sitting by itself at the moment. He's having a party by himself in Pisces and really enjoying it, I might say. But the other end of the Pisces energy is we have Neptune, the ruling planet, which is the planet of illusion and delusion. But Neptune is also where we get our creativity from. So a lot of people will be starting to feel as if they're coming out of their own fog, starting to see the daylight, starting to see things more clearly now, starting to see a direction in the way that they can sort of move forward. So the final planet we're going to talk about today is, of course, Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto's been in Capricorn since 2008. We'll be there till 2022. So Pluto's role is to completely transform us, is to transform the way that we look at things, our approach to things, transform hopefully governments and official departments. Maybe there'll be some different ways of looking at things. We could even see changes of government from one side of the aisle to the other during this transit, and particularly as Pluto is nearing the end of his time here. So this is when we're going to see some real intensity. We're starting to see vaccines rolled out with COVID, but I still think we have a long way to go. And I'm not being pessimistic, I'm being realistic. I think just because we've got a vaccine doesn't necessarily mean we can flick a switch and we all go back to normality overnight. I still think it's going to be a process. And I'm sure that there's more information as we go along and the scientists gather more data. We will have a better understanding of how this happened how it mutates, and how we can best work with and live with COVID moving towards the future. So we're going to take our first caller, which is Claire in Auckland in New Zealand. Are you there, Claire?
I am here, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Claire. Do you have a question I can work with, sweetheart?
Pardon me?
Do you have a question I can answer for you?
Yes. Can you please tell me what the plans are from today onwards, or what's going to happen between a male that I like very much called Gary and I, please?
Okay. Right, they're showing me that there's a lot of change. Okay, sweetheart. They're showing me that there's a lot of changes ahead for the both of you. Have you both been collectively sort of working on new projects, sort of trying to bring or instigate change in your life for the better? And it seems like it's been a really uphill battle.
Yes and no, I would say, because at the moment, he recently just asked me out in a to be partner, boyfriend and girlfriend with me, but unfortunately we had a disagreement and things escalated as such. But I feel that he's now blocked me on Facebook. Then maybe something there surely still with us, given that he has done it. I just want to know if we're going to rekindle back to where we were and hopefully develop a relationship which I've always wanted.
Okay, look, I do feel that there is still change to come about, because that was the first symbol that they showed me about this. I'm sorry that, there's been a disagreement there and, he's behaving a little bit childish in the way that he's handling things. I think what you've got to try and put yourself in is in his shoes. He felt very overwhelmed. And when he starts to feel overwhelmed, it's like sort of standing him in a corner and he's got to defend that corner. He'll lash out and he'll do things that, in a sense, are out of character, but they're not, because this is how he handles things in a crisis. Look, I don't believe this connection or this potential relationship is over yet. I think give him a little bit of time to cool down and to collect his thoughts and whatever. Look, what I'm seeing, within 7 days, I think he'll be back in contact with you and sort of being quite sort of sheepish or quiet about it, sort of like, it's like sort of, sending you a message and saying, how are you, with a question mark or something, and then waiting to see what your response is before he comes forward with anything more. I know it's difficult, but I'm going to ask you, when he does come towards you, just keep a very open mind, but also at the same time, don't give complete forgiveness straight away either. You've got to listen to what he's got to say. He's got to sort of turn around and apologise for his behaviour and explain to you why he reacted in the way that he did. Then I think we can start to slowly build on this. You can't just give him a free pass and not expect some sort of explanation, because then that's setting the groundwork for the wrong way for a relationship to develop and grow. I think he's a little bit childish. I think he does need to grow up, but I think he's also quite scared that this is how he reacts when he's scared or he doesn't feel he's in control of a situation. He just overthrows everything, and then that's his way of dealing with it, and shuts the door and walks away and then regrets it. So, this is where I think you're the more emotionally mature of the two. You can sort of be the one that's more the grown up in this and sort of, listen to what he's got to say, put your piece in there, and then sort of say, well, you really did hurt me. I hope you realise this, that, I wasn't expecting, just because we'd had a disagreement, that you were going to shut everything off. That's not how to handle things going forward. We've got to be able to find a way to sort of sort things out if there's a problem, if there's a crisis between us, that, we sit down and we talk about it, even if we have had a screaming match first, but we still come back to the point where we'll sit down and we'll talk about it and we'll listen to each other, and then we'll try and find a solution moving forward. Look, I do feel that there is real potential here for this to become a more serious relationship, but it's going to take a lot of patience, Claire. So, if you believe he's worth that, then that's great. If if further down the track that you think this is all too hard and it's not what you want it to be, well, then you readjust it and you look at it then. But for the moment, I don't believe it's over. So I wish you well with this situation, Claire, and just keep positive, sweetheart. There's a lot of uncomfortable energy out there at the moment, and as Mercury sort of starts to move direct, communication will become much clearer, sweetheart. So the next 7 days should see this turn around for you. So I hope that's helped you.
May I please ask one more question?
If it's very quick, sweetie, because I've got to get on to my next
Yeah.
caller.
Do you feel that given this happened 1 week ago, he's actually missed me, and there's these feelings there still from him, like, or aside from what just happened?
Yeah, look, I think there's been a lot of stuff that's gone on around him, and I think there's a lot of stuff that you don't even know. So don't try and put answers or conclusions to anything at the moment until you know the full story. He will give you the full story, and then I think you'll have a much clearer understanding of why he's behaved this way and everything that's gone down. So unfortunately, Claire, that's where I've got to leave it. I've got to go to my next caller. So we're going to speak with Kathy in Newport in Rhode Island in the USA. Are you there, Kathy?
Yes, I am. Hi, how are you?
Do you have a question I can work with, sweetheart?
Yes, I am wondering about my relationships.
Okay. All right. It's relationship day today. All right. The relationship that I feel that you're in, I want to say to you, I've got question marks around that. And that's obviously what you're feeling at the moment. You're sort of questioning not just the relationship, but you're questioning the other person's commitment to the relationship plus your commitment to the relationship. And it's sort of like, it's not that I'm saying that it's not good. I'm just saying you're being very objective is the way I want to look at it. It's like you've taken yourself out of the situation, removed the emotion, and looking at it, the whole relationship in the third person, as if it's someone else's relationship. How would I view it? Now, look, I think from time to time we all need to do this. We all need to be objective and do that so that we can make sure we're not missing vital things in the relationship that need to be worked on, or things that, are making us blissfully happy and we want more of that. I feel that there has been some shifts between both of you as individuals in this last few months. And it's like now is where you're sort of questioning, well, how does this fit working going forward? I don't believe the relationship's over, Kathy. What I do see is the relationship moving into a different level, if I can put it that way. It's where, okay, we've had a bit of a jump start sort of, and then we sort of pull back a bit, and then we'll have another jump start, and then we'll pull back a bit. But during that is it's actually strengthening the relationship, where you're becoming more your own person, the other person is becoming more themselves, and then collectively together we come together as a strong unit. Has there been some work issues for either you or the other person, or both of you?
Right. That's exactly what I was trying to figure out.
Because I just keep seeing work issues coming up, and I wasn't sure whether it was just the other person or whether it was you or both of you had gone through it, but there's been a lot of stuff this other person's got going on in their head. It's like whether it's real or whether it's imagined or a combination of both or what they foresee coming up in the future, but it certainly has them very bogged down and not being as communicative as what you would like them to be. But again, I must re-emphasise, this will change over the next few days as the planet Mercury goes direct. People all of a sudden start to become more talkative. They communicate better. Things become clearer. Things that have been troubling us, all of a sudden we get the answers to. We mightn't like all the answers we get, but we get the answers, and then we can start to sort of sift through it and work through it. But I feel it's been longer than a couple of weeks with your partner. I feel I'd like to take this back to probably late October, early November, and it's got progressively more intense. I wasn't going to say worse, but more intense, and sort of they've become more withdrawn. Not all the time, but pockets of it, and those pockets have become more intense since then. And this is why you're questioning, is this relationship right? Are they, is it growing? Are we going anywhere? As fast as I think we're making progress, we take 3 steps backwards. I just feel in the next month, Kathy, you will see the answers. They will become very, very crystal clear. So, just take a deep breath, calm down, focus on yourself, do something nice for yourself, and just let this all unfold in its own organic, natural timing. And then you'll see much more clearly what the answers are. But I don't think you've done anything wrong. And that's the most important thing. Everything that you've brought to this relationship and everything that you've attempted to, bring up or push forward or put on the table for discussion has been precisely right. So it's up to them to now start matching you stride for stride. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and then we can adjust it, and then we can make decisions or make choices according to what's being presented. But you haven't even been given 50% of the equation at this point. You know, I'd say as low as 35% is about all you've got from the other person. So it's now time they've got to step up their game and bring a lot more skin to the game, so we can then start to look at what are the choices, what are the steps moving forward. But I know you will make the right decision, Kathy, so just remain strong, do something nice for yourself, and know that you haven't done anything wrong. That's the important thing. You've given this 100% of you truthfully. They've got to now do the same. Okay, so that's where we're going to leave Kathy in Newport. It's been a very busy show. We've only got a couple of minutes left of the show. I just want to re-emphasise again, please go back, re-listen to the section on Mercury retrograde and it moving direct. It will help everybody with the choices and changes that are coming up in their lives. Communication has just been all over the shop in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So it's now time that we get some clarity, we get some direction, and we start to see some focus of us all being able to move forward. And again, I just want to re-emphasise, we've all been through some sort of grief in this last 12 months with COVID. So we're all feeling some sort of forms of grief in some way or another, even if it's just disappointment or, you know, frustration that our lives aren't normal. These are all very real emotions. We're all experiencing them at varying degrees, and we all need to find a new way of coping with life and to become more flexible. And most importantly, we need to be kind to ourselves and kind to each other, and make sure that you reach out and make sure that your neighbours, your friends, the people that you deal with are in a good headspace, because a lot of times, as I said, just a simple smile, a hello, how are you, you don't look right today, just that acknowledgement can be that one little missing piece that that person really needs that gives them the boost to go on. So until next week, I hope you find health, happiness and peace in your life, because we all need that in this very busy, turbulent time. And don't forget, take some time out every day to listen to your favourite piece of music. Make that your meditation. A little bit of music every day goes a long way. And I know our poor producer's got a terrible toothache, so I'm going to say to him, why don't you go and put some Helen Reddy on the turntable, and I'm sure she'll take your pain away. Until next week, have a great week. Bye for now.